Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is Ship Updates Now. Of course, this week we finally got to see it. Last week we got this preview image of the Aegis Eclipse, and it looks like, even though I was wrong, I thought it was probably a fighter, but then realistically that didn't make sense because there was already the Aegis Saber. But when, it was always that phrase, space superiority, that kind of threw me because, air superiority fighter. I just associated that, but it was in fact a bomber. And the one thing, though, I was right about is those are the wings folded up for storage. So, you win some, you lose some. But in the end, we got to see that. And what a piece of magnificent ship design this is. It, for what it's supposed to be, for what it is, it's perfect. It's perfect. Now, the shape of the ship, of course, is the flying wing shape. Something that I spoke about briefly, and, I kind of used a reference of the B2 Spirit, seen down here on the right, as kind of an explanation as to what I thought it might look like, or the general shape of the general form. But of course, under the blanket, I mean, that was kind of obvious. But the ship itself, is it just works. It's an ideal design. I mean, it references existing technology, existing norms, things that we know work in the real world. It has a wide open cockpit, all glass, so a wide open view. I mean, absolutely beautiful. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking this thing looks amazing, and I really, I looked at it and I was like, I try to really dig into things, and I try to really kind of look and say, okay, here's the stuff that I think is going to be good about it. Here's some of the stuff that I think is going to be bad. I really don't see any real downside to this ship. I mean, for what Star Citizen is supposed to be, and for what this ship is, what it seems to be aiming towards, it seems almost ideal. Now, you might say, oh, but, the guns are fixed and they're not in a very tight configuration. So I bet you, that's not something that you like. And though it's not 100% ideal, this ship is not primarily designed to be a fighter. Those guns are more or less a weapon of last resort. Or if you're using them, chances are you're going to be using them on something pretty sizable. So it's not going to be that difficult to bring both guns to bear on your targets. So really, no issue there. It is what it is. And could it possibly be better for the application and for the way that you're supposed to be using it? I don't think so, because really it's not supposed to be a dogfighter, and if you're going to be using those guns, they'd probably be a lot more productive on a much larger target than on a fighter. Now, if you look at the wings, I mean, this is just a little clip from the brochure, but if you look at the wings, they're kind of canted inwards somewhat. Well, not really canted, but you see how they're kind of folded inwards a little bit for space flight, and then folded outwards for atmospheric flight. So, I guess to enhance the stealth factor. So not really something that would in the video game probably be, that important, that critical, because I mean, it would be more of like a visual flair item than an actual practical thing, because I doubt, when the ship's radar is, detecting your ship, it's probably not factoring in all the exact geometry of your ship, and it's probably more, you have a set signature value, they have a set signature value, so on and so forth. I really doubt it takes ship geometry into account when it tries to detect the ship, but the fact that they put that in visually, that touch, was really cool and really thoughtful. It was a very nice touch to put in there, and I was very impressed by that. When you look at the cockpit, I mean, the pilot, if you look at the position of the seat and kind of the overall geometry of the, the hull around him, of the cockpit area, surrounding him, he seems to be sitting somewhat up and out a little bit, so further enhancing his view, which was just, when I saw that, that really impressed me. I was really like, wow, that is a real step in the right direction. And an all-glass cockpit, amazing. This would probably be an amazing ship to fly with, you know, a VR headset. It's just in all these little things, it just, you know, you might think that all these little things aren't that big of a deal, but overall I think they kind of take the ship in leaps and bounds forward, you know. Now, moving forward, my real big questions about the ship, of course, range is one of the questions that I would have in this ship. Does it offer the ability to, you know, at least a little cubby hole somewhere where you can store a couple of weapons and probably some personal equipment? That, I think, would be a really nice feature to have. And is it at all possible that in the future, like, if I could suggest one thing, if I could suggest one thing for this ship, it would be make the torpedo bay modular. Allow you to remove the torpedo bay and possibly open up a small amount of cargo area, or possibly just an area just big enough to fit a dragonfly into. Not so you can kind of do a two-man thing, but for when you're landing on planets, that you have a vehicle to go around and explore with. I think that would be something really nice to have if you could do something like that. That would be my one suggestion. Now, I realize that some people don't care for it when I editorialize too much in ship updates. They kind of just want the facts. But I like to give my opinion. And one of the things that I like about stealth ships in general, one of the things that I think is very strong about them, is that in the hands of a pilot who knows what they're doing, in the hands of somebody who really understands the tool that they're using and knows how to use it properly, being able to hide, being able to become an unknown variable on the battlefield is something that I think is endlessly valuable. And in a universe with open world PvP like Star Citizen, being able to move around much more freely because you're harder to detect, you're harder to see, even if your purpose is just exploration or, you know, just kind of getting from point A to point B. Being able to do so unseen, I think, is something that is endlessly valuable. It's one of the things that attracted me to the Ghost. It's one of the things that attracted me to the Saber, and very much this ship as well. It is a fantastic design, and definitely something to consider if you are disposed to the 250 for war bond, which of course means new money only, and 275 for possibly CCUing into this ship. But definitely, in my opinion, it's a ship that I am looking at very intensely. Let's just say that. I'm going to be doing some heavy-duty considering over the next couple of days. But overall, top marks. Absolutely top marks on this ship. Now, some people might kind of balk at that price tag, though, and they might say, oh my God, you know, that's a lot of money. But, you know, you have to remember those are Class 9 torpedoes, 3 Class 9 torpedoes on this ship. Now, I think that those are probably operating on a separate scale than the Class 10s that you have on the Polaris. So there is a possibility that you're going to see a much reduced performance from Polaris torpedoes. But obviously, those are some big-ass torpedoes that this ship carries, so I think you can expect a certain level of performance, especially since it's, you know, part of the brochure is talking about it kind of going after larger strategic targets to soften up those targets prior to the proper UEE fleet attack. Is something like, you know, something to go in and soften up the enemies. So yeah, very very impressed with this ship, very, very much so. Now, also on this week's ATV, we also got this video of the Reclaimer, which clearly and very obviously references, you know, the 1979 classic Alien, as you can see in the lower right there. I mean, this was just absolutely beautiful. And that, I mean, every time they show the Reclaimer, I've referenced it and I said, it's very Nostromo-esque, and here once again you just see so much heavy, draw from the opening sequence, the landing sequence at least, and the exploration sequence in that classic film of Alien. It was just awesome, absolutely awesome, amazing to see. The Reclaimer just looking better and better and better every time we see it, I just am so glad that I own this ship. And, seeing this video, wow. And finally, to round things up, we also got some more footage of the upgraded, the Aurora, sorry. Talking so much about all these other newer ships, the older ones, you seem to forget them a little bit. But yeah, the Aurora, the cockpit, looking really amazing and very much enhanced over the current version. And we did get a very, very brief snippet of the Terrapin. And yeah, it's in, I guess it's final gray boxing and final animations before they get it ready for the game. Will it make 3.0? Probably not. I can't see that. It is probably something that is much further off in the future. Going to be a while yet before that ship is finished. And 3.0 still released, official release date unknown. Evocati testing date unknown. None of these things have been announced yet, and it might be a while yet, but this has been a really good week. We've seen a lot of really cool shit. And, the Aegis Eclipse looks amazing. Anyways, that's the show for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Quantum travel initiated.